What if a spoonful of neutron star appeared on Earth? Imagine waking up to breaking news. A mysterious object has appeared in the middle of Central Park, surrounded by a shimmering distortion in the air. At first, it looks like a dull, blackened marble, small enough to fit on a teaspoon. But within seconds, nearby birds fall from the sky. Trees split apart from their trunks, and the ground begins to crack. Spectators scream, their bodies collapsing under an invisible force. Within minutes, an entire city block vanishes into a gaping sinkhole as emergency services desperately try to approach, only to be crushed by gravity itself. You're witnessing the arrival of a single spoonful of neutron star matter. It weighs over 1 billion tons, roughly the same as Mount Everest, compressed into a volume smaller than your thumbnail. It's not radioactive waste, a nuclear bomb, or some alien artifact. It's a piece of a star. But not just any star, the remnant of a supernova explosion, where atoms have been crushed so tightly that even electrons and protons have merged into neutrons. Neutron stars are among the densest objects in the universe, second only to black holes. Just 1 teaspoon of this exotic matter would have more mass than all the cars, buildings, and people in a major city, combined. But here's the real kicker. Gravity on Earth is no match for this thing. The planet itself would start to react violently the moment it arrives. Before we dive into the science of what's really going on, let's set the context. Neutron stars were first theorized in the 1930s and confirmed in the late 1960s when astronomers discovered pulsars, rotating neutron stars that emit radio waves like cosmic lighthouses. Since then, we've only observed them from millions of light years away. They are the collapsed cores of massive stars that died in explosive supernovae, leaving behind a tightly packed neutron-rich sphere, just 12 miles wide but heavier than our Sun. Now imagine the consequences if even a fraction of that mass suddenly existed here, on Earth. This is no ordinary what if. This is a scenario where gravity, density, and energy behave in ways we were never meant to experience on the surface of a fragile planet. But what exactly makes neutron star matter so dangerous? And what happens at the atomic level when it comes into contact with our world? Let's peel back the physics behind this alien intruder. We'll dive into the terrifying science of extreme density, gravity, and what happens to atoms in the presence of a spoonful of a dead star. To understand the chaos unleashed by a spoonful of neutron star matter, we need to dive into a place where the rules of nature are stretched to their limits. This isn't just a really heavy rock, it's something fundamentally alien. Neutron star material is so dense that it crushes the boundaries of atomic structure. Normally, atoms are made of a nucleus surrounded by a cloud of electrons. Most of it is empty space, but inside a neutron star, even that space is gone. The pressure is so immense that protons and electrons are forced to combine into neutrons. The result? An ultra-compact soup of neutrons crammed together like sardines in a cosmic tin can. Now bring that dense nugget to Earth, and suddenly everything nearby is in serious trouble. Why? Gravity. A spoonful of neutron star matter exerts an immense gravitational pull, millions of times stronger than Earth's. You wouldn't just be pulled toward it, you'd be flattened into a paper-thin smear of biological paste long before you got close. Even metal structures would crumble like crackers under the gravitational shear. This is not science fiction. It's just physics on steroids. The moment this teaspoon hits the ground, its mass would begin to sink through the Earth's crust like a wrecking ball through a sandcastle. It wouldn't just rest gently on the surface. It would tunnel downward, dragging air, earth, water, and anything unfortunate enough to be nearby into its wake. The surrounding ground would collapse into a funnel as shockwaves rippled outward, shaking buildings to their foundations. The air around the neutron star matter would compress under the intense gravity, causing a sudden spike in pressure and temperature. Oxygen molecules would ignite, triggering an explosion, not from combustion, but from the catastrophic collapse of matter into itself. You might see lightning without a storm, hear thunder without clouds, feel heat without fire. And it doesn't stop there. The Earth's internal layers, normally stable over millions of years, would be disturbed by the neutron nugget's relentless descent. It could pierce through the mantle like a bullet, setting off localized earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. And as it falls, it drags everything behind it, forming a vertical tunnel of destruction that might reach the core. But gravity isn't the only killer here. The intense tidal forces around the neutron matter would begin to stretch and shred nearby objects. Just like how the moon's gravity tugs at our oceans to cause tides, the spoonful's gravitational field would tear apart objects on a microscopic level, like spaghetti pulled at both ends. This spaghettification effect, yes, that's the actual term, would disassemble matter as we know it. And all of this unfolds within seconds of its appearance. But how would people react to such an impossible event? In Part 3, we'll explore the chain reaction: panic, first responders, global confusion, and humanity's first terrifying attempt to understand the unthinkable. To understand the chaos unleashed by a spoonful of neutron star matter, we need to dive into a place where the rules of nature are stretched to their limits. This isn't just a really heavy rock, it's something fundamentally alien. Neutron star material is so dense that it crushes the boundaries of atomic structure. Normally, atoms are made of a nucleus surrounded by a cloud of electrons. Most of it is empty space. But inside a neutron star, even that space is gone. The pressure is so immense that protons and electrons are forced to combine into neutrons. The result? An ultra-compact soup of neutrons crammed together like sardines in a cosmic tin can. Now, bring that dense nugget to Earth, and suddenly, everything nearby is in serious trouble. Why? Gravity. A spoonful of neutron star matter exerts an immense gravitational pull, millions of times stronger than Earth's. You wouldn't just be pulled toward it, you'd be flattened into a paper-thin smear of biological paste long before you got close. Even metal structures would crumble like crackers under the gravitational shear. This is not science fiction. It's just physics on steroids. The moment this teaspoon hits the ground, its mass would begin to sink through the Earth's crust like a wrecking ball through a sandcastle. It wouldn't just rest gently on the surface. It would tunnel downward, dragging air, earth, water, and anything unfortunate enough to be nearby into its wake. The surrounding ground would collapse into a funnel, as shock waves rippled outward, shaking buildings to their foundations. The air around the neutron star matter would compress under the intense gravity, causing a sudden spike in pressure and temperature. Oxygen molecules would ignite, triggering an explosion, not from combustion, but from the catastrophic collapse of matter into itself. You might see lightning without a storm, hear thunder without clouds, feel heat without fire. And it doesn't stop there. The Earth's internal layers, normally stable over millions of years, would be disturbed by the neutron nugget's relentless descent. It could pierce through the mantle like a bullet, setting off localized earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. And as it falls, it drags everything behind it, forming a vertical tunnel of destruction that might reach the core. But gravity isn't the only killer here. The intense tidal forces around the neutron matter would begin to stretch and shred nearby objects. Just like how the moon's gravity tugs at our oceans to cause tides, the spoonful's gravitational field would tear apart objects on a microscopic level, like spaghetti pulled at both ends. This spaghettification effect, yes, that's the actual term, would disassemble matter as we know it. And all of this unfolds within seconds of its appearance. But how would people react to such an impossible event? We'll explore the chain reaction: panic, first responders, global confusion, and humanity's first terrifying attempt to understand the unthinkable. The appearance of a spoonful of neutron star matter would look, at first, like a terrorist attack or some bizarre act of divine wrath. A crater forms in seconds where a city once stood, the ground buckling and folding inward, buildings collapsing as if pulled by an invisible hand. Emergency services race to the scene, only to vanish or be obliterated by gravitational forces they can't detect, let alone understand. To those on the ground, it feels like the Earth is being sucked into itself. News spreads faster than scientific comprehension. Social media erupts with viral clips of the destruction, shaky videos capturing cars folding in on themselves, birds dropping mid-flight, even time-lapse footage of distant buildings collapsing into dust. Hashtags like #GravityBomb, #DarkMatterTerror, and #StarDrop trend worldwide within minutes. Conspiracy theorists have a field day. Aliens, particle accelerators gone rogue, secret weapons tests, even biblical end-time prophecies. Few understand the truth. This isn't science fiction. It's astrophysics made terrifyingly real. Governments scramble for answers. The first assumption is an attack, perhaps a new kind of weapon never before seen. Intelligence agencies monitor the world's nuclear arsenals, fearing retaliation or escalation. Military aircraft swarm the skies, drones circle the anomaly, but every close encounter ends in destruction. Even unmanned probes are shredded by gravity before data can return. Panic spreads faster than information. Scientists, meanwhile, are baffled. At observatories and physics labs around the world, researchers analyze seismic data, gravitational anomalies, and satellite imagery. The signals are strange: massive energy spikes, inexplicable density readings, gravitational waves normally only observed from colliding black holes. A breakthrough comes when an astrophysicist recognizes the pattern. The gravitational signature matches that of a neutron star. Not just similar, identical, but how could a neutron star fragment end up on Earth? It would take more energy than any human-made force could generate. Some posit a freak tear in space-time. A wormhole, maybe, or a quantum fluctuation so rare it wasn't thought possible. Others suggest it was ejected from a distant binary star system, traveling at near light speed, and somehow intersected Earth's path. The truth? Nobody knows. As the realization sets in, the global mood shifts from panic to existential dread. If this happened once, could it happen again? Was it an accident or a warning? Scientists and leaders convene emergency councils. The UN declares a planetary state of emergency. Martial law is enacted in several countries as governments brace for cascading disasters. But Earth isn't done reacting. The spoonful is still sinking, burrowing deeper, warping the land around it like a black hole eating through butter. And the environmental damage is only beginning. We'll explore the terrifying ripple effects across ecosystems, oceans, and the atmosphere, and how this alien intruder turns Earth's natural systems into weapons against itself. As the neutron star matter sinks deeper into Earth's crust, its gravitational field continues to wreak havoc, not just locally, but globally. The Earth's geological balance, delicately maintained over millions of years, is shattered in hours. Seismic waves ripple across tectonic plates, triggering earthquakes in regions that haven't experienced one in centuries. Volcanic chains, like the Pacific Ring of Fire, roar to life as magma chambers destabilize under the stress. Dormant volcanoes erupt unexpectedly. Iceland, Japan, Indonesia. Lava lights the night skies in places separated by thousands of miles. But that's just the beginning. The oceans respond next. Tsunamis, some over 1,000 feet high, are triggered by sudden seafloor shifts caused by the neutron nugget's passage through the mantle. These aren't waves you surf. These are walls of water that swallow entire coastlines, moving faster than jetliners. In the chaos, shipping lanes are abandoned, ports are destroyed, and global trade collapses. The internet is throttled as underwater cables snap like strings. Coastal cities from New York to Shanghai go dark. Meanwhile, the atmosphere itself begins to destabilize. The gravitational distortion warps air currents, disrupting the jet stream. Weather becomes unpredictable and violent. Superstorms, twice the size of any hurricane we've seen, form over newly heated oceans, drawing in moisture and wind energy like cosmic engines. Lightning storms rage across continents. Temperature extremes flip overnight. Cities baked in unseasonal heat one day are flash frozen the next, and then come the mass die-offs. Delicate ecosystems that depend on stable weather and temperature patterns start to unravel. Coral reefs bleach and disintegrate as ocean acidity spikes. Forests are flattened not by chainsaws or fire, but by barometric shock waves and shifting soil. Bird migration patterns collapse, crops fail across multiple continents, and mass starvation looms. Even microbes, the invisible foundation of life, are disrupted as soil and water chemistry change overnight. This is not a natural extinction event. It's a gravity-induced, physics-triggered ecological collapse. And it happens not over millennia, like the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, but within days. Humanity watches helplessly as the Earth's biosphere, finely tuned through billions of years of evolution, is torn apart by an object no bigger than a spoonful. And yet, life continues. Humanity, stubborn as ever, begins to ask, how do we survive this? How do we eat, breathe, and live in a world that no longer follows the rules we once trusted? We confront the desperate short-term challenges, collapsing infrastructure, food shortages, failing technologies, and the psychological cost of a world turned upside down. In the days following the neutron star fragment's arrival, Earth has become a stranger to its inhabitants. Cities lie in ruins or are abandoned entirely. Global communication networks have collapsed. The skies are dark with ash and debris, the air heavy with the smell of burning forests and cracked earth. Infrastructure crumbles, not from neglect, but because physics itself is now a destabilizing force. Roads buckle, bridges twist, power grids fail under the stress of continual earthquakes and magnetic disruptions. The modern world, interconnected, interdependent, and fragile, unravels almost instantly. Food becomes the most urgent crisis. With global trade halted and regional agriculture in disarray, supply chains disintegrate. Crops rot in flooded fields or wither in sudden droughts. Cold storage systems fail as electricity grids flicker. In urban centers, panic buying turns to hoarding, then to rationing, and finally to violent desperation. Governments deploy emergency food drops, but air traffic is limited, too dangerous to fly near gravitationally unstable zones. Hunger spreads not just in poor nations, but everywhere. Clean water becomes scarce. Groundwater tables shift, desalination plants stall without power, and contaminated runoff from collapsing industries poisons rivers. Sanitation fails. Diseases we thought we'd conquered, cholera, typhoid, even plague, begin to spread in refugee camps and overcrowded cities. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Pharmacies are empty. In many places, medicine becomes more valuable than gold. But the invisible cost is psychological. The sudden loss of control, of predictability, shatters the mental stability of millions. Anxiety becomes pandemic. Depression and PTSD rise at levels never recorded. Suicide rates spike. In some areas, religion surges. People seek meaning, salvation, or simply comfort in the ancient belief systems that predate science. In others, anarchy takes root. Civil unrest breaks out as trust in institutions dissolves. The social contract, once held together by shared truth and prosperity, is stretched to the breaking point. Still, humans adapt. Makeshift survival communities form in subway tunnels, caves, and decommissioned military bunkers. Old tech is repurposed. Wind-up radios, water filters, even bicycles modified to power lights or charge small batteries. Survivalists and off-grid communities suddenly become the new experts, teaching people how to grow food indoors, purify water with charcoal, or live without refrigeration. Science, though wounded, continues in isolated labs, desperately trying to understand the fragment, to stop it, or at least contain the damage. Amidst the chaos, a few daring initiatives emerge. Underground cities, shielded habitats, even the beginnings of a plan to launch a containment probe into Earth's crust. The question isn't just how to endure, but how to rebuild in a world fundamentally changed. We'll look beyond emergency survival and explore the long-term human response, from subterranean engineering to radical science, space migration, and a possible shift in the future of civilization itself. As the weeks stretch into months, humanity begins a hard pivot from survival to adaptation. The surface of the Earth remains treacherous, scarred by gravitational rifts, unstable weather systems, and collapsing ecosystems. But beneath the crust, a new world begins to form. Engineers and geophysicists lead massive efforts to expand underground shelters into long-term habitats. Subterranean cities emerge, built inside repurposed mines, subway networks, and freshly dug caverns reinforced with new composite materials capable of withstanding seismic tremors. Artificial lighting systems mimic natural day-night cycles. Hydroponic farms, powered by salvaged solar grids and geothermal heat, produce nutrient-rich greens and fungi. Algae bioreactors recycle carbon dioxide and purify air. Slowly, painfully, a fragile civilization regrows in the shadows of the old one. The population shrinks, but those who remain become fiercely adaptive, inventive, and cooperative. Necessity becomes the engine of progress. Above ground, drone fleets, shielded against intense gravitational flux, survey the planet, mapping unstable zones, locating survivors, and monitoring the descent of the neutron mass, now buried deep within Earth's mantle. A new branch of science emerges: gravitonics, focused on understanding high-density anomalies and exotic matter behavior. Quantum physicists and astrophysicists work side by side with engineers and AI systems to develop countermeasures, gravity dampeners, field stabilizers, and perhaps one day, neutron star containment units. Economies are reborn in strange new shapes. Traditional currency loses meaning. Instead, trade is based on energy credits, resource access, and scientific knowledge. Political power shifts dramatically. Resource-rich nations lose their grip, while technologically advanced, adaptable microstates rise. The UN is replaced by an emergency global alliance, the Earth Continuity Council, charged with managing underground life, coordinating science missions, and preventing the collapse of what remains of human order. Genetic engineering, once controversial, becomes mainstream. Scientists begin editing crops for accelerated growth in low-light, high-radiation environments. Some even propose modifying human DNA, adding traits for underground adaptation, increased vitamin D synthesis, low-light vision, improved psychological resilience. The ethics are hotly debated, but desperation overrides old taboos. Some look skyward. Space agencies, NASA, ESA, CNSA, even private outfits like SpaceX, reboot long-dormant Mars colonization plans. Earth, they argue, may no longer be sustainable. Colonizing orbit or nearby moons isn't just a dream, it may be a necessity. Prototypes for orbital stations begin construction, powered by space-based solar arrays and autonomous robotic miners harvesting lunar regolith. Amid this technological renaissance, humanity faces a profound philosophical shift. The planet is no longer a permanent home. It's a challenge to be managed, or a launchpad for something greater. But just as the world begins to stabilize, a new complication looms beneath the surface. We'll uncover the scenario's turning point, a new catastrophe, or a breakthrough discovery that will force humanity to face the ultimate question: do we flee, fight, or evolve? Months into Earth's transformation, scientists monitoring seismic data detect something alarming. The spoonful of neutron star matter, buried deep within the planet, is no longer stable. Instead of sinking slowly and harmlessly cooling, it's accelerating, compressing Earth's mantle as if carving a gravitational tunnel through its very heart. At its current rate, it will reach the core in less than a year. The consequences? Catastrophic. The Earth's core is a churning dynamo of molten iron and nickel, generating our magnetic field and helping regulate the planet's internal heat. A foreign body with the mass of Mount Everest and the density of a collapsed star arriving in that core would unleash unimaginable forces, disrupting convection currents, shifting magnetic poles, and possibly halting the geodynamo altogether. Without our magnetic shield, Earth would be exposed to deadly solar radiation. Our atmosphere could be stripped away within decades. Earth wouldn't just be unstable, it could become uninhabitable. Panic reemerges, but this time it's different. Governments and scientific communities had been adjusting to the status quo. Now, everything accelerates. The Earth Continuity Council calls an emergency summit. Evacuation from Earth is no longer a contingency. It's an imperative. Space programs go into overdrive. Rocket launches that once took years to plan are now happening weekly. The Moon becomes the staging ground for humanity's escape. Crews race to complete Oasis 1, the first fully self-sufficient orbital habitat capable of supporting 10,000 people. Private companies auction off seats, but most nations hold lotteries, prioritizing scientists, engineers, medical personnel, and, controversially, individuals with high reproductive fitness. But not everyone gives up on Earth. A global coalition of physicists unveils Project Anvil, an attempt to neutralize the neutron mass using an experimental method, neutrino bombardment, aimed at destabilizing the matter and forcing it to decay or fracture. The risks are enormous. A miscalculation could create a micro-black hole or trigger a localized quantum collapse. But it may be Earth's only hope. Fluctuations around the fragment discover something bizarre. Encoded patterns, regular repeating bursts. It's as if the neutron star remnant is communicating. Some believe it's a natural resonance, like a star-quark pulse. Others suggest something more terrifying. The fragment might not be a random chunk of stellar debris. It could be a probe, a test, or worse, a breadcrumb from an ancient alien intelligence. A message not to humanity, but to the cosmos itself. Now the stakes aren't just about Earth's survival. They touch the very origins of the fragment and whether it was ever meant to arrive here. We confront the choice: rebuild, escape, or risk it all on a scientific gamble. Humanity stands at a crossroads between collapse and transformation. The world watches with bated breath as Project Anvil prepares for its first test. Deep beneath what was once the Swiss Alps, now a jagged, unstable wasteland, a facility houses the only neutrino array capable of generating a sustained, focused beam. The goal? To disrupt the neutron star fragment's internal structure and, hopefully, force it to destabilize harmlessly. It's a one-shot operation. If the containment field collapses mid-sequence, it could rip a hole through the mantle and trigger global seismic shockwaves. Some call it reckless. Others call it humanity's last stand. Meanwhile, above Earth, the Oasis 1 orbital habitat reaches partial functionality. The first wave of evacuees, mostly scientists, engineers, and a handful of political leaders, arrives aboard retrofitted Falcon-class vessels. The station is a marvel, a torus-shaped habitat with artificial gravity, hydroponic gardens, and radiation shielding. But it's also a prison. With Earth below in crisis and Mars colonies decades from being habitable, these orbiting survivors float in uncertainty. Hopeful, but not free. Back on Earth, something unexpected begins to happen. Rebuilding. Not in the old sense, with skyscrapers and highways, but in the formation of resilient cooperative microsocieties. In mountainous regions, decentralized communes blend traditional survival techniques with repurposed technology. In Africa and South America, rural communities adapt quicker than cities, less reliant on the failed infrastructure, more flexible in the face of ecological change. Children born in underground cities are the first of a new generation, humans who have never seen natural sunlight, who think in terms of pressure valves, solar rations, and oxygen credits. Culturally, the shift is massive. Stories of the sky become myths. Art moves away from escapism and leans into function. Murals double as maps. Music is used to regulate work rhythms. Architecture blends geology with survival. The aesthetic of post-collapse isn't dystopian, it's pragmatic beauty. International boundaries blur. There are no longer Americans, Russians, or Chinese, just those who stayed and those who left. Power now flows from those who can feed, heal, or shield others, not from those who govern. Language, culture, and politics begin to hybridize. A new identity emerges, Earthkind. Then comes the moment. Project Anvil is activated. The world, what remains of it, pauses. The neutrino beam fires. Deep below the surface, seismic sensors go dead. For a moment, it seems like nothing happened, but then, readings stabilize, heat flux decreases, the gravitational anomaly weakens slightly. It's not a total victory, but it's proof. The fragment can be affected. Humanity has wounded a star. Even with this glimmer of hope, the long road ahead is clear. Rebuilding Earth isn't about returning to the old world. It's about redefining civilization in a reality where the laws of nature have revealed their most terrifying side. We'll explore how this event reshapes humanity's destiny, our relationship with the cosmos, our pursuit of space, and our place in a universe that is no longer silent. In the wake of Project Anvil's success, Nistis, a profound shift takes root, not just in infrastructure or politics, but in the collective psyche of humanity. For the first time in history, we have directly interacted with a fragment of a collapsed star. We've wounded something that was once part of a supernova, a remnant from the death throes of a giant sun. It's as if we've scratched the skin of the universe itself, and the cosmos, in turn, has whispered back. The strange pulse patterns emitted by the neutron fragment, those gravitational beats, remain a source of mystery. Some scientists now believe they're not just random. They might represent a language, or at least a structured signal. Attempts to decode them intensify. Advanced AI algorithms trained on mathematical linguistics and astrophysical constants are deployed to search for meaning. One team proposes a chilling theory. The pulses are a countdown. Whether true or not, the very possibility reframes everything. We once believed ourselves isolated, floating on a pale blue dot, untouched by the stars. But this single event proves otherwise. Whether it arrived by accident or design, the fragment shattered the illusion of cosmic indifference. We are no longer observers. We are participants. This revelation triggers a philosophical renaissance. Religions evolve, some declaring the fragment divine, others calling it a test. Thinkers revisit the Fermi paradox. Perhaps the silence in the cosmos isn't due to a lack of life, but a shared fear. Maybe civilizations that tamper with neutron matter disappear not because they fail, but because they are noticed. Culturally, Earthkind begins to orient itself outward. For generations, space exploration was a curiosity, a pet project of wealthy nations or eccentric billionaires. Now it's a necessity. The moon becomes not just a base, but a cathedral of science. Telescopes, free from Earth's unstable atmosphere, scan the stars with renewed urgency. Probes are launched to study neutron stars directly. Even missions to the Oort cloud are considered, not to extract resources, but to understand where danger may lie. Education changes. Children now learn gravitational physics in kindergarten. History classes teach pre-fragment and post-fragment eras. Survival skills are paired with cosmology. Humanity, once fragmented by borders, languages, and ideologies, begins to cohere around a single, unifying idea: that our future depends on understanding the universe that nearly destroyed us. And what of the fragment? Still buried, still active, still pulsing, no longer sinking, but now humming. Like a stone tossed into the fabric of reality, the event leaves a scar, both literal and existential. Earth is altered, but alive. Humanity is humbled, but awakened. We'll imagine what comes next. Will we ascend to the stars, rebuild a wiser world, or face the same fate as civilizations before us? The end of this story is not destruction, but possibility. Years pass. The neutron star fragment, once a harbinger of destruction, is now encapsulated in a gravity-dampening containment field deep beneath the Earth. Monitored by satellites, AI sensors, and the most brilliant minds humanity has left, it no longer grows, nor threatens collapse. Its pulse remains steady, mysterious, and unreadable, but no longer feared. It has become a symbol, not of terror, but of awakening. Above ground, Earth has changed forever. The old nations are shadows of themselves, borders erased by survival, economies rebuilt on resilience rather than consumption. Coastal cities have been reclaimed by water, jungles have surged through once barren plains, and entire biomes have reshuffled. But in sheltered valleys, subterranean habitats, and orbital colonies, a new civilization thrives, one born from crisis, but tempered by humility. Oasis 1 has become Oasis 3, with two sister stations orbiting Mars and one under construction near Europa. Humanity has become a multiplanetary species, not as a luxury, but a necessity. Space travel, once elite and symbolic, is now foundational. A lunar university trains the next generation of scientists, engineers, and philosophers, all fluent in both gravity physics and the ethical dimensions of cosmic survival. Back on Earth, societies operate on new principles. Scarcity still exists, but cooperation is more valuable than conquest. Cities are designed around sustainability, vertical farms, geothermal networks, AI-optimized logistics. Old institutions have been replaced by federations of scientific councils, local democracies, and Earth-kind assemblies. Diversity is celebrated, not as novelty, but as strategy. More perspectives mean more resilience. Children born after the event know the story of the spoonful. It's taught not as a horror tale, but as a lesson in humility. It appears in song, art, even ritual. Every year, on the Day of Descent, humanity pauses to remember when nature reminded us how small we truly are, and how far we can reach when we act together. And yet, the question lingers. Was it a cosmic accident? A fluke of physics? Or a message in a language we're still too young to read? Perhaps we'll never know. But that uncertainty doesn't breed fear. It fuels exploration. If the universe can deliver a spoonful of a neutron star to our doorstep, what else might it hold? So we look upward, not with arrogance, but with curiosity. We send ships not just to escape, but to understand. We build technologies not to dominate, but to endure. And in doing so, we earn our place, not as rulers of the earth, but as participants in the grand, indifferent, and awe-inspiring universe. The future isn't written in the stars, it's shaped by how we respond when the stars come to us. A spoonful of neutron star wouldn't just reshape our planet, it could redefine our place in the cosmos. Would we survive, collapse, or evolve into something more? What do you think? Is humanity ready for a universe that bites back? Comment below with your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this cosmic thought experiment, don't forget to like and subscribe for more what-if scenarios.